So this is the latest bit of information that is coming in, where Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, which is said to be the largest of its kind in Europe, is now on fire, and this has happened because of the fighting that has been reported at the power plant. Remember, the Russian forces had been trying to take control of this nuclear power plant. The locals within the city had in fact opposed the Russians taking over the key pieces of Russian-Ukrainian infrastructure. And at this point of time, it is not clear as to how large the fire is, but this is what is being reported by the local officials within Ukraine, that the Zaporizhzhia power plant is on fire. This, remember, is day 9 of the fighting that has broken out between Russia and Ukraine. And the plant reportedly is on fire due to continuous shelling by the Russian forces. Ukrainian authorities, including the Foreign Minister Dmitry Kuleba, have urged the Russian troops to immediately stop the shelling. And Dmitry Kuleba has also demanded that the Russians must allow for firefighters to now enter into the facility and allow them to douse the blaze. The mayor of the nearby town of Energodar has said that there's been fierce fighting between the local forces and the Russian troops. Now, Dmytro Orlov said in an online post that there had been casualties without giving any details. Now, earlier on Thursday, the Ukrainian authorities had reported that the Russian troops had stepped up their efforts to seize the plant and had managed to enter the town with tanks. Loud shots and rocket fire were also heard late on Thursday night, and the city on the Dnieper River accounts for almost about 1/4 of the country's power generation. Now, this is what Dmitry Kuleba has tweeted about this particular incident, where he said that the Russian army is firing from all sides upon the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, which is the largest nuclear power plant in Europe. Fire has broken out, and if it blows up, this is where he says, if it blows up, then this will be 10 times larger than the Chernobyl disaster that took place in 1986. Russians must immediately seize the fire and allow the firefighters to establish a security zone around Zaporizhzhia. So remember, this is a clear part of the Russian strategy to go about systematically taking over key pieces of Ukrainian infrastructure. There are 15 power plants in total, and Russia is trying to seize control of all of them. This also is one way of bringing Ukraine down to its knees by taking over the sources of electricity for the country. And this particular power plant that we're looking at, these are live visuals that are coming in from Energodar, and from what it appears to be at this point of time, there are reports of a fire that is in fact broken out at the Zaporizhzhia power plant. So this is the latest bit of information that has come in, where the Zaporizhzhia power plant, that is said to be the largest of its kind in Europe, which accounts for almost about 25% of all power that is generated in Ukraine, is now on fire. The Ukrainian authorities have blamed the Russian incursion as the reason for this fire that has broken out. And that is the visual that you're in fact seeing on your screens. There's been constant shelling by the Russian forces, who've been trying to take control of all critical infrastructure in Ukraine. And this is one way of, in many ways, sapping away Ukraine's ability to in fact defend itself. At this point of time, it is not clear as to how bad this particular fire is and what is the reason behind it. But the Ukrainian authorities have fairly blamed the Russians for the constant shelling, which they say has now sparked this fire at the Zaporizhzhia power plant. So this is the latest bit of information that has come in terms of the conflict that is going on between Russia and Ukraine, where there's been reportedly firing from all sides. The Zaporizhia nuclear power plant that has now gone up in flames. There is a portion of the power plant that seems to have caught up fire, and the Ukrainian Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba has said that if this power plant were to blow up, then this could of course be a disaster that would be 10 times worse than the disaster that took place at the Chernobyl nuclear power plant. But this is, remember, the 9th straight day of fighting between Russia and Ukraine. Russia invaded Ukraine 9 days ago, and since then it has been systematically going about capturing the nuclear power facilities in Ukraine. Now, the United Nations Atomic Watchdog Agency, the IAEA, has also expressed some grave concern that the fighting could cause accidental damage to the 15 nuclear reactors in Ukraine. Remember, Ukraine has already written to the IAEA to take charge of its nuclear reactors because they say they don't want their nuclear reactors to fall into the Russian hands. But at this point of time, it's not very clear as to who is in control of the Zaporizhia power plant, because at a point of time there were reports that the Russian troops had managed to take over Zaporizhia, and then it emerged that this nuclear power plant is still under Ukrainian control. And from what is happening, it appears that there has been an incident of a fire. How serious is it, and what consequences this is likely to have is still not very clear. And also what caused this fire at nuclear plant is information on that front is also still awaited. But the Ukrainian foreign minister has blamed the constant Russian shelling for the reason as to why there's been a fire that's been reported at the Zaporizhia nuclear power plant. Largest nuclear power facility in Europe that has now reportedly caught fire. We are talking about what is happening right now in terms of the visuals that we are getting you. These are live visuals that are unfolding. It is 3 o'clock in the early hours of the morning in Ukraine. And the latest information that is coming in is that this nuclear power plant that you're looking at on your screens that is located in Enerhoda, this is now caught fire. The Ukrainians have blamed Russian shelling for the reason as to why this has happened. And the location of Zaporizhia nuclear power plant is also very crucial. It is towards the southeast of Ukraine. And remember, Russia is trying to construct a corridor connecting the Donbas region that it already controls with the Crimean Peninsula. And this is a location that's virtually on the corridor that Russia wants to establish. So at this point of time, it has not been independently ascertained as to what may have caused the fire and how big this particular fire is, but from what is being reported, this is a fire that has happened because of Russian shelling, the constant Russian shelling that has taken place through the night. And this is the pattern in which the Russians have gone about their invasion. The fighting worsens in the night. There's a bit of a lull in the middle of the day where people are able to come out and go about their regular lives, get the stuff, essential stuff that they need. But in the night is when the airstrikes escalate. This is also the time when there is a lot of shelling that is reported, and it is also in the night that the Russian troops seem to advance. And the latest, of course, is this particular nuclear power plant, which has now gone up on fire, although more information is awaited in terms of how bad and how serious this fire is. So this is the latest development in the war by the Russians on Ukraine, where the largest nuclear facility in Europe that is located in Ukraine, called the Zaporizhia nuclear power plant, and this is now on fire. It's not very clear what may have caused this fire, but the Ukrainians have accused the Russians of constant shelling on the nuclear power plant, which they claim has now resulted in the nuclear power plant catching fire. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.